Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am. It's perfectly visible.
Perfect. So, we're going to talk about how hacking can be done before you even blink. Specifically, if we talk about the things that are going around us that are very tricky. Every day there is something that is coming up. A bit about myself. I am a security advocate or security relations leader at Sneak. Sneak, I am the first employee in India, and we would be setting up the operations here soon. Apart from that, I also root for pro bono work, which is contributing to open source. And I'm one of the global board of directors, serving as a vice chairperson for OWASP. I'm also on the global board of Black Hat Asia, to Grace Hopper, to B-Side Conference, and many more. Um, Coming back to the presentation, this seems to be the wonderful future, if you can see, wherein the kids are talking to robots, and I have a Google at home, and then I have Alexa at home. Kids keep speaking to that. How good that would be. So any information that we provide, that is actually getting uploaded on them. Now comes a point wherein if there is an update that comes, and there is a malware that's updated on them, how scary that would be. On top of it, if that's malware is updated, and that provides the wrong information to the kids, or might be might that update would have a camera enabled within the robot, so they'll be monitoring anything and everything that's going to be moving around home. We might not even know about that. Isn't that scary? And that's not impossible to do, the way we have seen the changes. So if you are in the call, or if you are attending this session, which means you care about software security, you care about the open source software security, and you care about your own things. Here, open source is something which is very, very important. Like 80% of the code on the internet is open source, like literally 80% of the code. And that's the minimum number I'm saying. It could be 90% as well. Now, when I say 90%, think about how much code are we writing? Like an organization is writing 10 to 20% max. So when that much of code is open source, aren't we going to see the vulnerabilities? Absolutely, we're going to see the vulnerabilities. And where exactly you'll see the vulnerabilities, which will be in the open source code. Aren't we supposed to see which all things that we are using? I'll tell you one funny thing. Actually, it's not funny enough, wherein when we see the vulnerabilities, now there must be some people who would be thinking, what are the vulnerabilities? Vulnerabilities are the weakness in any of the system. So if we think about using any of the development languages, and especially for students, like I presume that this is more of a student session, or maybe there are some professionals. So when we are using the open source component for building our application, I am using open source code itself for my own application, and I don't know what all vulnerabilities might be there. So what happens is that when I don't know, every year the vulnerabilities keep on increasing. Every year the breaches keep on increasing. And there are times when we are using the components, when we are using the open source softwares, which are already vulnerable. And then comes into picture, then free and open source will be with us always. And it is going to increase only from here on. So I hope that answers your question.
We are sorry for this inconvenience. We think ma'am is facing some network issues. Please wait.
Uh, so we're talking about infrastructure as a code, which is like a hot space. And it is basically just a code used to spin up the whole instance, spin up the whole network, spin up the whole environment. When that small piece of code is used to spin up the whole environment, we're supposed to make sure that code itself is secure enough. And a lot of times, what I have seen, we use the predefined code or predefined templates, or we search internet for those templates and we start using it. But what comes next is the vulnerabilities, the bugs, the security flaws that comes into picture. And on top of it, we feel that we are all time secure. But let me give you an example. Like Flipkart, Amazon, there is a sale that going on, right? Or there was a freedom sale, which was there. But think about when there is a huge amount of load, like everyone wants to buy something, everyone wants to buy something for themselves, for their friends, and there is a bug in that you can't go above this limit, but you keep adding things and suddenly the thing started to fail for the server because it can't expand itself. Or even if it's expanding, it's giving you all the access to buy anything and everything, and that will be for free. So there are times when we are spinning those instances, we have to be very cautious at what we are spinning up. It should not be like we have created a template or we're using it from the internet and that's about it. So as I mentioned, that 10 to 20% of the code is custom code and rest all is open source code. Open source is being developed by students, by professionals who are spending their free time, spending their weekends to develop this code. And that's how Apache came into picture. That's how OWASP came into picture. That's how Node.js to Java to any other forum came into picture, which we are using. And containers are now, these are public resources, but what to have it inside and whether we need to use public repositories which are properly vetted. And similarly, we can have private repositories. Talking about infrastructure as a code, this is like becoming the thing because we are migrating to cloud, we are adopting cloud first strategy. um, Now, if I have to say this in a very simple words, you must have heard about coming of a startup culture in India. Like it's huge, humongous. A lot of my friends who were working with me now, they have their own company. Now, when they have their own company, they want to have resources. They just don't want to wait for the service to come. They don't want to wait for 1 year, for 6 months, or maybe for a month to spin up something. And is it easy to manage those servers, having a cold repository, cold data center somewhere where nobody breaches that, or somebody comes and breaks it, right? So cloud is one of the best solution for them. But if we talk about trust or trusting the trust, is it easy? I speak a lot about zero trust, which is another word wherein you don't trust but verify always. So never trust and verify always is the funda that I always live by. If we don't do that, what happens? We might deliver malwares to the vehicles, and that might be unintentionally, we wouldn't even know. If you go back and check about supply chain attacks, what are those? It's not that it's a food supply chain, it could be anywhere. Software supply chain, there is someone who's writing the code, giving it to someone who wanted that code, and when the first person who developed, they might have had a loophole which was shipped to everyone, which was shipped to the owner, and that owner shipped it to everyone in the whole world. Like a phone, that was created by someone and that had a malware, or there was an app, there was an operating system which was infected, that was shipped to somebody, and then they sold it off to everyone, and that means everyone had the same thing. And this was one of the incident which happened with an event stream, wherein there were backdoors which were installed, and that even continued for a very, very long time, starting with 2011 and even till 2018. It just went on, wherein it created a lot of chaos which people even did not realize. And if I talk about downloading the npm packages, which is around Node.js, so it's more around the Node.js application. If 61% of the open source packages on npm JavaScript are abandoned, what happens next? Those abandoned packages are used by somebody, and they're not even updating it, and we are using those vulnerable components. How scary that would be. Or if we are using an older version, that will be like very, very tricky. Now comes the point, are we talking about it? Absolutely, we are talking about it everywhere, and that's need the attention. And that's why we all are here, to make sure we are pointing the right things at the right time, and we address them at the right time. And when we are talking about developer tooling, that's like the heart. And not just developer tooling, but anyone wants to develop a tool. Everyone wants to come up with a product. But if we don't look at it properly, what could go wrong? Lot of things, which I'm going to show you. Now, Visual Studio Code is one of the tools that we use every day. Trust me, almost every day. And if we don't update it, what could go wrong? We will be vulnerable. And that's what I'm going to show today. So the state of open source security, wherein cross-site scripting to many other vulnerabilities, wherein maintainers' accounts are being compromised. So these are the exact cases wherein I'm not talking about the theory. These are the actual research wherein we credentials to publish access to multiple things, and there are users which are getting compromised. There are credentials which are being compromised. Now, to give you an example, I was using one of the calendars in Google. Like I use Google Calendar, but there was one automated calendar that I was using, which was more of an extension. And it was working like really well. And I live by calendars. If you tell me that I'm going to meet you at this time online, I might forget till the time we have it on the calendar, because we have so many meetings till like midnight. But there was an email that come to me that said, this calendar has been compromised. Either you remove it, or you need to change your password. What I did, I removed that extension, changed my password so that nobody has the token. And when you remove the access, that means you're on the bit safer side. Similarly, Chrome, we keep adding those extensions. Like I have some love for extensions wherein I keep adding those, the new ones which I want to experiment to know about it. But aren't they all safe? No, they are not. So be very cautious about them. And if you are using an extension and you are not updating your own browser, you will be vulnerable to some attacks. Read about the browser attacks. And can we do better account security hygiene? Absolutely. Wherein when we are maintaining it, we can have multi-factor authentication. And that's not just applies to NPM. That applies to any other package, to anything from Java to Node.js to anything. And even people often are the weakest link in the whole supply chain, whole security chain, because we sometimes tend to miss smaller things. And that's why we're talking about automation. We're talking about concentrating on these bugs. And if you see these vulnerabilities from the smallest, like the basic mistakes, could lead to the biggest of the threats. One more thing I want to tell you, that there was one heap-based buffer overflow in like Linux, and that actually created a lot of issues. You should read this bug. This was very, very interesting, wherein any unprivileged user could get the root privileges on a vulnerable host. How scary that would be. Like I am running Linux on this Mac. Like I have VMs running, But if I have a Linux system, uh, and somebody could gain access to my system, they'll find a lot of information which I don't want to give it to them. So this is very, very scary. And that's when we need to make sure that we are creating proper repositories of those things. There was one time wherein we tested, like I used to be a big time pen tester. Even before this job, I used to be a pen tester, like full-time pen tester. Even though I was manager, I was an architect, I was doing a lot of things, but then I wanted to be hands-on. So uh, when you are pen testing an application, you find a lot of hidden bugs, you find a lot of hidden things, and you report it to people. But then as part of the whole cycle, you test certain applications even before they go to the internet. And when you found certain issues, like could be injection, wherein you can find the information from the database. So what could go wrong if people don't fix it? Or even if they fix it, but there is another version of that goes to the internet. How scary that internet application has bugs. For example, right now we are at a GravityCon, right? And at Gravity or Graviton, we have a website which is vulnerable, wherein all the users who are registered, anyone can get their names, their email addresses, and other details. Wouldn't that be scary? I'll be hell scared if somebody gets my emails. They'll start spamming me, they'll start sending me bogus emails. I wouldn't even know which are the legitimate emails. And that's when we have to be very cautious with it when we are building those things. Now, talk about Visual Studio Code, like that's one of our favorites, wherein 14 million monthly active users, and we are using almost every day, literally every day, wherein diamonds are forever. And what are those diamonds? The open source libraries, the open source components. And if those are there with us, can we play around with them? Absolutely. And that's when, if you say, if one developer just broke Node, how many developers would be able to do it? If the Visual Studio Code itself is vulnerable, will there be a problem? Absolutely, there will be problems, which I'm going to show you today. And that's when we are manifesting to make sure that we are using open source code, but we are trying to fix them as well. We are trying to make sure those registries are being tracked. Those things are not becoming part of the news. We are here to make sure we are making news, but we don't want to be in news, because one company which comes in the news, they have not only monetary issues, but they will have hit on their reputation as well. And we have seen a lot of hacks, dozens of companies which are getting attacked. There are softwares which are getting breached. There are softwares which are using open source to huge amount. And who do you trust? That's the question. Who do you trust? Do you trust the robot that it's going to be all fine? I don't. And then that means we're missing on something very, very important. What? A live demo. Let me go ahead and stop sharing and share again so that I can show you the demo. And meanwhile, what you can do is you can type your questions in the chat box so that I can take it up as soon as I'm done. Okay. Let me go ahead and show you my screen. Okay. Let me know when you're able to see my screen. Okay. Here you go. Okay, now I am sure you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Perfect, thank you. So here I have Visual Studio Code, which is like used by almost all the developers at some point. I have been a developer, I have been a security person, and I still use it because that's one cool place to be in. I can play around with it, and then I can read my own PowerShell scripts to any other scripts here. So I have a small a package, which is from the attacker standpoint. Like I'll talk about from a attacker standpoint, wherein I have some images to index.php, to track.php, to readme.php, that I have this code. And let me go ahead and Control C. I'm running a server on a local host, which is my system. Ideally, I shouldn't be running on my local system as an attacker machine, but I am running to make sure that we don't lag behind the demo, because I am very scared with the demo bots. A lot of times I'm on the stage and they fail. I think that happens with everyone. So this one I wanted to do live, and that's when I want to show you that I am on an attacker machine. These are my scripts wherein I want to connect to like anyone who clicks my URL. They actually share some juicy information to me. And this is the same code here wherein I have a track.php, I have a readme.php, and what I really want, I want Jyoti's password. So now I have all of this, which I have my hacker system, attacker system ready. So hackers are the good people as well. So we always call the bad people as attackers or the annoying people. So here we have the hacker system ready. What next do we need? Now I'm going to be talking about a normal developer, a person who is very naive, who is just trying to do their work. So now this is my code, and these are the extensions. So I have downloaded Instant Markdown because Markdown is one language which I totally love. And even my own website is on Markdown. So this one, Instant Markdown, has multiple versions. And I am using one of the version, which is 1.4.6. This is the version. And there is a newer version, 1.4.7. But as soon as, okay, no, I'm not going to reload. This is a bad thing. So I'm using this older version, and I just clicked on upload, which I didn't want to do. I hope my hack works. So here, now when I am doing that, that means I'm using an older version, which was created by some David Bankier. And is there a problem? So if you look for Instant Markdown 1.4.6, that had some bugs, which were fixed in 1.4.7, the updated one. And that's how the update go, right? We update our phones. So as an attacker, what I did, I'm running that script. Now I'm just putting something on a blog website. And I want this developer to click on that link. And we do click on certain links, which comes in our WhatsApp, to Instagram, to anywhere else. Now, this person clicks these links. Okay. What happens? You've been hacked. Now, what information did I get? Did I get any information? Okay. Do we have a file? Oh, how scary is this? You've been hacked. So this is my code running on my web server. And I've got this file. Now, which file was this? Let me see here. So this was the attacker system which I launched on the local host. But as a normal developer, I have some passwords. Okay. 1 second. Control C. Escape once. So let me cat the passwords. New tab, default. Okay, let me see cat password if there is a file that exists. Okay, what I'm trying to do. That's -L. Okay, yes, I do have a file which is password. So that password, the file which has been sent to the hacker. How scary that would be. And on top of it, I can play around with it. It gives me all the information. So if you see, I have created the session. Similarly, you might not even know that these things are being done. And let me see that if any other information can be given. So if I have got the password file, what will I do first? I will actually log into your application and start playing around with it. And that's when everybody in the whole world says, enable multi-factor authentication, use passphrases. Now this person is using passphrases, but still those passwords have been sent to me. Aren't they scary? Like I log into my system and get Jyoti's all passwords. And people are Instagram stars these days. And if Jyoti seems to be one, I will send all my advertisements through Jyoti's accounts and get access to it. Or might be Likhit's account. Like I got introduced to Likhit's just recently, and I have all the information about the person. Wow, how nice that sounds. And that's when dev environment needs to be updated. And these things need to be updated on the regular basis. And that's when there are code extensions which needs to be checked every now and then. And be aware of what you install in your environment, specifically dev environment. Always scan them. Always check for source code to containers to infrastructure, not just the source code, not just the open source libraries, but all your containers and infrastructure. Oh, that is about it. And so SneakCon is one conference which is coming up, which is free for everyone to attend. Now, I'm a Sneak employee, so I talk about it a lot. If you want to know more about DevSecCon or SneakCon, feel free to drop me a note, and I'll be happy to have a chat. And your code is your superpower. Either you secure it or you get in trouble with that. Now, one more important thing that I want to tell you, when I said that I've been on both the sides, I've been a developer, I have been a security person. So I know what trouble could be there when we are writing the code and understanding that the code itself is secure. So one important aspect to remember is that that secure coding seems to be very tricky in the beginning, but it is not. Trust me, when it becomes part of the everyday process, when we change our mindset. um, for example, like I give a lot of examples about phone, about just the normal examples. So when we are using our phones, are we using a passcode? Like I have an 8-digit password, like a passcode, because I'm so scared about all the things. So when I am that, are you using any passcode? I'm sure you must be using any pattern. And if you're using a pattern, I will take 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes. I'll take seconds to unlock your phone. Would it be scary for you? I would be damn scared if somebody gets into my phone. I have tons and tons of things, like literally, which are going around. And everybody would get developing things to reading logs to so many things. And on top of it, I'll tell you a funny story. So we got a chandelier, like a Zoomer at home. And my brother was super excited because it was connected via Bluetooth. And we used to like play this music on it. One day, I felt there's something that can be done with that. Like my brain, which takes in a totally reverse angle. So what we did, I found a Bluetooth hack, which I executed because the software was an older one. So we were sitting on a dinner table, we were having food, and I just ran that script on my phone. And it kept on ringing. It kept on just moving, because after a while it stops, but it kept on moving. Everyone creeped out. How scary that was, how dangerous that was. On top of it, we still have that, but we try and avoid those Bluetooth things, and we keep that up to date. And on fun fact, when you are using any smart device at home, and if you don't update the software, we'll be in trouble like this. Like we've seen ads wherein as soon as you come home, you'll find house very cool because there's a smart AC at home. But you've started this, and as soon as you reach home, the house is boiling because there's somebody who's trying to play around with it. Or you have a geyser whose temperature you've set up to certain degrees, like 27, 28, or maybe 30. Like you've set up a temperature that this is the boiling point for my water. And suddenly, when the water comes out, it's super hot. Wouldn't it be troublesome? It will be. And that's why I'm trying to give you the normal examples. And all of this is written via code, isn't it? Because it doesn't run on its own or with the magic. It runs on the code. So aren't we supposed to update the code? Absolutely. And you can just blink. You might not even blink an eye, and you might get hacked. So just be very, very cautious about it. and be excellent. Share your knowledge. If you get to know something informative, share it with people. And that's what the communities are for. And that's what I feel these conferences are for, to connect, to share information. And I'm a huge fan of academia. Like, I wanted to be a professor at some point, but then I landed a job in IT and I just continued there. But I never stopped learning, never stopped sharing. And this was one amazing opportunity wherein I got to be speaking at the conference. And I said, yes, I want to go for it. So my friend Steve was supposed to speak. And then he said, I have something, and can you speak? And I was like, this is the opportunity that I was looking for. And especially with LPU, I could have never said no because it's my home state. So I could never say no. And yes, that's about it. Thank you so much for joining me. It was wonderful to share information with you. If you have any question, do type it in the chat box. And I am so sorry for the internet cut off in the beginning, even though we have an inverter at home and sometimes the backup don't work. So my sincere apologies. And I didn't even get to know like when it was just went off. So thanks for bearing with me and listening to me. I am always available on DMs at Twitter. My name is InfoSec Vandana. Like, even my website is InfoSec Vandana. That's how much I'm paranoid about security. And I'm on the LinkedIn. You can just tweet about it. You can share the information, and we can speak about it. So I'm opening up the stage for the questions. I am like literally, I'm going to be here. Even if you don't ask questions, I'm going to be here for 12 minutes exact. But I want you to come up with the questions. Any question. There's no question which is dumb question. There's no question which is which you might feel, oh, I shouldn't ask. Because till the time you don't ask questions, you wouldn't even get to know about that thing. So I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. We have a lot of questions for you, like participants asked. Like, let me ask. Our first question is: only the files in that folder will be sent, or complete computer data?
So when I created the script, I only wanted the passwords file. So that file was given to me. And if, let's say, 1,000 people click on it, there are 1,000 people whose data would come to me. But I can actually breach the whole system as well. There are many times wherein the system is all compromised. There are backdoors which are running on the system. There are malwares which are running on the system, which even we don't know. And I'll tell you something very, very funny, because that happened to me, wherein I wanted to, have you heard about those ads wherein, or have you seen those ads wherein you want to reduce this much, you want to buy this, those creepy ads on your browser. So those are called adwares, like a sort of a malware. And I used to be very fascinated about it, like back then in 2009, 10 aroundish, because I was just into 4 or 5 years in the industry. And in the beginning itself, I was just getting to know what security is, what cybersecurity is, and I was not much into it. But then it kept on increasing, the curiosity kept on increasing. So I was like, I want to understand what these malwares are. I want to do the reverse engineering. I infected my own system, and it took me 3 days, trust me, 3 days to remove that malware from my system, because it was creeping me out. Like I had those ads almost whole my browser. My Chrome was like all crazy. No, not my Chrome, but there was another browser that I was using. Oh my God, that was all creepy, trust me. And that was the whole scary thing. And I realized that I am going to do everything in a VM so that I can discard that VM. But yeah, think about systems. Yeah.
Okay. But ma'am, not everyone saves the passwords in text file.
See, everyone cannot save the file, and everyone cannot save the passwords in the text file. But then there are files which are created on the system. There are, so this is the password file which I named it, but there could be another file that I might get it because they are clicking on it. So anything that's any file that's part of the home directory. So to give an example, it was password file because I wanted to say it as a password, but any file that's part of the home directory that will be sent to me, that might contain some juicy information. It's just example I gave it as a password, but that could be any other thing. You might have some credentials file of GitHub, right? You don't know. And
Yes,
you
ma'am.
might have some keys also.
Yes, ma'am.
Think about, Jyoti, I hack your system.
Hmm.
Would it be scary for you?
Yeah, it's too scary.
And I kept taking your name. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. No problem, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
Uh,
I can see a lot of questions as well.
Yes, ma'am. And next
Yeah.
question is it safe is it safe if we save our password on browser?
No, never do that. Like, I have a password manager. Like, I use a
I
password manager
always
and I
save my
pay
password.
for it. Don't do that. Trust me. Don't
Okay.
do that. Don't do that. They can be picked up so easily. There are extensions, they can pick it up. And there are scary things that can happen. So never ever save your password. I use a password manager. I save it in the password manager, which is again secure by another set of master credentials and then an MFA. So just be very cautious because I have so many passwords that I keep forgetting. If you ask my
Yes, ma'am.
friends and my seniors, I always forget my passwords. And I never used to do that. But then now there are so many passwords. And there are researchers that we use almost 200 credentials. We don't even get to know. So isn't it easy to forget the password? And I use different password on every platform because you can't use the same password. So I use a password manager wherein I need to remember one big password with a authenticator, and that's about it. And my password manager does the wonderful job in filling automatically. I just love
Okay.
my password managers. And there are free password managers as well, like OnePass, LastPass, which have a commercial angle, but then you can use it for your own purpose. At least
Ma'am,
try using it.
can you suggest
Yeah.
any password manager?
Actually, there are so many, from HashiCorp to OnePass to LastPass. They're all good. You can use any of
Okay.
it. But people say that if password manager gets help, they may, but they have been tested like rigorously. So at least I have 90% trust on them, if not leaving that 10%.
Mhm. Okay. And ma'am, next question is how will we know that the target developer has that old extension?
So we wouldn't even know. As an attacker, we wouldn't even know. So what we are going to do is we have our application on the internet, right? And they might not have it. They might have it. Now, when they access my application, they click an application. That's when the things will execute. The script that I have created for that particular extension would execute automatically on the user system, because scripts run on the client side, right? On the browser. And browser will execute and transfer that file. And I am sure if I'll share something, okay, let me share my Chrome. Now let me go ahead and inspect my system. Go to network. Let me go ahead and do something here. If you see, there are files which are getting downloaded, which are getting transferred. Do you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
And I have an extension wherein there are multiple things which are happening, right? Because it, when you go to view source, it tells you what all things are being downloaded, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
what all data is getting transferred. So I can view there. But I wouldn't know which all developers have what. But I have created a script for a certain pattern. And as soon as somebody with that certain pattern hits my browser, hits my website, I'll get those details. That's the thing.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, if our password got hacked, so then is it possible to recover by company?
See, if a password is hacked,
Hmm.
password is gone, right? What
Yes.
a company can do, it what happens in a normal organization, as soon as, because we have worked on the incident response process, wherein if let's say there is somebody who's lost their credentials, like what happens is we put our credentials on our public websites, right? Similarly, an employee did it. So when that person employee did it, at that particular time, they gave away the credentials. So what an organization does it, they what you call it as, they disable their account for some time, change the password and send it to the user so that the account is secure. So organization does it in that way. But if you've known about a website called Have I Been Pwned, I will just type it for everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Have I been pwned? So there are few people who don't know about it. So have I been pwned? If you check on this website, you'll find dumps and dumps of credentials. Like you wouldn't find, as in like they won't give you the credentials, but you can check your own email address, whether that has been part of any of the breaches. Like one of my email address was part of one of the breaches. One of my passwords was part of a dump, wherein they actually highlighted that, yes, your password is vulnerable. You're using an insecure password. And I'll tell you something funny. My password is like over 24 characters. Try and hack it.
Oh. Okay. That's great. Okay, so ma'am, next question is the domain name is localhost 800. The developer will already know it's not a legitimate URL.
Legitimate.
What about legitimate URL? What about that, ma'am?
Okay, so that's why I said in the beginning itself that I am setting it up as what you call it, as a dummy, right? But you want to see if I am an attacker, right? You want to know if I am an attacker, and you don't want me to go to the local host, right? Give me 1 second. Ready. So what I have done, just for this, because I knew these questions will come, so I have set up another thing. I have a domain called InfoSec Vandana. Like you can go and check. I have an infosecvandana.com. Yeah, that's my website, which runs perfectly fine. I do a lot of things and I keep posting here so that I don't forget. But I still forget things, but I still have to update a lot of things. But I have a subdomain, which is infosecvandana.ngrok.io. Oh, what happened to it? It just worked. Yes. Do you think so? The normal person would go. Normal person would go to this website thinking that it's InfoSec Vandana. Will it go? Will you go, Jyoti?
No.
You might click.
No, ma'am. Yeah.
No, because I told you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But if I don't tell you, will you go? You might think that it's InfoSec Vandana. Then you're being cunning. But you might go. You never know.
I never go, ma'am.
Okay. So you won't visit my website. I'm not happy. Yeah. So it was localhost because I was running on my local system, and just before the demo, there were some failures that could have happened. So I avoided that and was showing on the local host. But this is how you can set up your subdomain and you can run. So I'm running on ngrok. So I have a local ngrok which is running. So I have a local server running wherein InfoSec Vandana is also hosted. But hackers can use any domain, right? I might want to have a very generic name, which I could play around with it, right? And that could be very scary. Localhost I used just to show the demo. But here, that's a good question. That see, localhost, which means it's a local system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further questions? So this one, do you think in upcoming the security would be automated? Absolutely. Security would be automated. Security would be what you call it as. Security will only be booming, and it has already automated to a greater extent, and it is only going to be extending its wings. And another important aspect is that manual pen testing would be there. The pen testing area would be there. There will be manual intervention that would be there. But these automation are going to give us time for innovation. That's what I feel. That's what my gut says. Everyone has their own perspective, but I am so in favor of automating the security. I love automating security. I love creating Python scripts. I love creating Python tools wherein I can use them and I can just run a script. For a funny fact, I update my website using a shell script. So my own code has a deploy script wherein if I update anything on my local system on my website, it runs with the deploy script.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Now we don't have any questions. we are
Great.
done with all the questions. And ma'am, it was a great session with you. Thank you so much for joining our session.
Thank you so much. Let me do one thing. Let me go
Yes, ma'am.
ahead and put my LinkedIn and Twitter in the chat box. You can connect with me. Those are not vulnerable, so you can connect with me. And
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I'll definitely connect with you.
yeah, and I'll be more than happy to have a conversation. And it's a college event, so there's something more that I want to share. And I would like to take your inputs as well. I keep creating content around cybersecurity for students specifically. Sneak
Okay,
is a
then.
company which is a software security company, and the base is in London, US, and US, UK, and Israel. So they were never in India. I am the first employee, and I have to set up the whole APJ region, wherein specifically India I have to set up. So you will see that I posted something about it, that I'm the first employee in India, and Sneak does a lot of work around building software security, and they are the first. They are trying to have developer first security, so that more developers understand security from inception rather than forcing upon them. It's very scary if we force things on somebody. Like as a student, if somebody tells me do this assignment, I'll be scared and might do it with not my full heart. But if somebody says that, okay, this is how it can be
Yes,
done,
ma'am.
I would love to work on that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Exactly.
Sneak is about that. And if you want to know more about it, reach out to me. And we'll have we'll have openings starting from December. That's what I presume, that we'll open every, like, hiring in India, and we might have an open, we might have an office in India as well soon.
Okay, that's great, ma'am. That's great. We are done with all the questions and today's session also. Ma'am, it was a great pleasure to have you on our session.
Thank you so
Again,
much. It was
yes,
a pleasure to be part of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
This was a very informative session and all. I hope everyone has gained the knowledge. Thanks a lot for being here, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Likith, for inviting me.
exactly. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Okay, so let's close this session. I hope you all enjoyed today's session and get a lot of knowledge from ma'am. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And for our next session, we'll give you all the information about our next session from our WhatsApp group. So be active on that group. Thank you.